So I remember feeling this way as well. And I've heard it from clients and people out there too. So you're guesting on podcast shows, which is a great way of boosting your authority and getting in front of more people, widening your audience, and obviously getting more leads if you're sharing some lead magnets or, whatever your free resources are. But I find that entrepreneurs too, and podcast guests, that they're doing that. But then on the other hand, in the marketing their business, they're feeling stuck for figuring out like what content to write, what content to put out there to help attract and convert their leads. And just kind of wondering like, why isn't my guesting getting me more noticed? Or why isn't my authority as big as I want it to be? Or why am I not getting as many leads as I thought I was going to from all the podcast guesting that I've done. And so I have created this podcast leverage system, which is 4 steps to creating consistent authority boosting content with less overwhelm. It is geared more towards the podcast host. However, many of the principles can be used for the other side of the mic, so to speak, of podcast guesting. So those 4 steps, just so you kind of get a brief overview here, are to publish for results. So publish on your website to reap more benefits, distribute for maximum exposure. So distribute it everywhere to nurture current prospects and attract new ones. The third is to repurpose for higher visibility. So you want to be more savvy and make sure that more people are listening to those episodes, hearing about you, seeing you, and obviously having more ways to create content easily. And the fourth is my favorite. It's multiply for consistent content and for your sanity. It can be super tough going from week to week going, oh my God, I have to write more social media. I need to write an email today. I need to do a video. It's like, you're just like, oh my God, what am I going to write about? What am I going to do a video on? And so this way, if you're leveraging your content in more ways, it just makes life so much easier and you get more bang for your buck out of your content. So I am going to share 7 ways for you to leverage your podcast guesting opportunities. So once a podcast goes live and the host has sent you, hopefully they will have sent you pictures and assets and a link to some show notes and maybe even audiograms. If they send you those assets, you are that much closer. So that is awesome. So the first thing you want to do is publish. And this seems like a weird thing to do because, of course, it's the host's podcast, not yours, but it's content. And if it's content, you want to share it on your website. And so do a blog post just like you would for a blog, or if you are podcasting, hopefully you are publishing your podcast on your site as well. And again, just like a podcast post, you've got the image, you've got, if you have the audio link, that's great. You can embed the audio on your page. If not, you can link to the iTunes or the host page. If they have a video, you can easily embed the video on that page. And then you're able to put more call to actions. You can put call to actions throughout it. And then also on your podcast or on your post, on the right-hand side, the sidebars, that is huge real estate. So use it. Have call to actions for your free lead magnet, to book a call for your Facebook group, whatever it may be. That is key real estate. So anyone going to that page are going to want to know about, what you offer, but also see, what other resources that they can get from you. Now, what if the host doesn't give you show notes? And because I've been a guest on shows and all that's been underneath is like my bio and the topic, which secretly makes me cringe. But if they provide show notes, great, put them on your post. But if they don't, you can certainly create your own. You know your stuff well enough, and you know that interview that you can write, the show notes of like what happened in the interview, what things that you covered, some great tips and quotes that you covered. You can even go as far as to put timestamps in there so that you have content on there. People want to be able to see it and be like, scan it and say, oh yeah, I definitely want to know that. I'm going to listen. So it kind of pulls them into the episode, right? So that's one, that's publish. The second one is don't forget about LinkedIn articles. So it used to be called the Pulse. Then it was just articles. Now they do have articles, but they also have newsletters. And I actually have a blog post on my site that steps you through that whole process. So in a nutshell, you would write an article sharing all the information from that episode that you guested on. And again, you can have the image in there, the video, your call to actions, all that good stuff. And then you actually turn it into a newsletter. It's a feature that LinkedIn has, and people subscribe to it. And then when you issue a new episode, whether it's your own blog content or a newsletter or an episode that you've guested on, whatever it may be, whenever you release a new one, those newsletter subscribers get a notification and so are more likely to consume your content and then convert to a lead as well. So third is don't forget about your email list. When you guest on a show, it's great content. So share it, do an email talking about the interview that you had, some good tips that you shared, and prompt them to obviously listen and consume the content. It makes you top of mind. It makes them see you as an authority and the expert, and you'll be more likely to convert them because you're nurturing them and you're serving them. Fourth is do a video about the episode. So this is a way to repurpose that step number 3 in my podcast leverage system. And that, yes, there's a podcast floating around out there about it, but you can use it in different ways. So you can do a video to talk about, the conversation and about the episode, kind of like an overview. And you can even put that video out before the episode goes live, or to seed it or create that buzz before you share the actual episode. Or you could do it afterwards, either which way. It's just another way of repurposing that content. The fifth would be to create tiny, micro videos. So, those videos that are 1 to 2 minute long, and they have 1, maybe 2 quick tips in there. So I imagine when you guested on this awesome podcast that you shared a lot of tips and strategies and advice, maybe tools that you've shared, your favorite thing, whatever it may be. You can pull little tiny nuggets of information and do really short videos just on that tiny thing. So you are multiplying, again, that 4th step in my podcast leverage system, multiplying that content and pulling out little pieces and making more. It's super easy, right? And it's your own stuff, so you're going to know it inside out. The 6th is to create, again, those little snippets, more social media based off of the information that you provided in that episode. So I imagine you can, pull quotes that you said in there that were really impactful, or tips, or a tool that you used, or a story that you shared in there. So you can pull those out and create Instagram stories. You can create simple square graphics that are quote graphics that are, your branding and so forth. And it's another way of elevating yourself as an authority in your space, because those quotes and those tips are coming from you. And because you showcased it on a podcast, it just shows that you're in demand. It boosts your credibility. And you can even put on those posts, as seen on or as heard on this podcast, and put that little podcast logo, the one that you were on that graphic as well. So again, you're seeding and you're showcasing yourself as an expert, that you were on that podcast, but you're also delivering content that serves and kind of up levels your status. And it's a way to create content that's super crazy easy. You can even do questions. So if topics came up in the episode, I'm trying to think of something now, but if you did, X, Y, and Z, what's your favorite way of doing it? Or, hey, have you ever thought of this before? Or I chatted to the podcast host about blah, 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 blah. What's your take on that? So basically you're making super easy engagement posts because you want to create that conversation with your community and with the people that you're connected with on social media. And don't be afraid to tag the host as well, so that then you're getting in front of their audience as well. Because you could say, hey, while I was on this podcast, I shared this tip. And then again, you're tagging that host, getting in front of their audience as well. And you're taking that control back over your visibility and how your content is being put out into the world. And the seventh one is you can actually go as far as downloading the audio of that episode. Because quite often on the audio players, there's a little like 3 dots, or there's a button there that you can download. So if you download that audio, you can actually, upload it to your own host, I guess, and put a player in there. But that's not where I was going with it. But you can upload that audio to apps like Headliner, and then have an image. And those, hopefully you know what an audiogram is, but it's like an image where it's just like a sound bite, and then there's these little wave files that go across. And so it's just a really easy way of sharing consumable content on your social media feed that gives them a taste of your authority, your expertise, your building trust. And it's just an easier way of creating content from content that's already there. That podcast episode already exists. So why not leverage it further so that you can boost your authority, have a super easy way of creating content. You're taking control over what's out there in your voice. And again, tagging the host as well to get in front of a bigger audience, making sure that you're tapping into all the different platforms that are out there and your list that's already there that you're nurturing, and having that content as a foundational piece within your website. So 7 ways you can leverage your podcast guesting. So hopefully that helps you. And if you need any other tips, of course, go to smoothbusinesspodcasting.com. Have a good one.